Hello all, Rick here with a quick video on a mysterious species from Star Trek Voyager, simply known as the Swarm. I debated whether or not to make this a bestiary or a cultural index, but well, we simply don't have enough about the Swarm to even speculate on their society or much beyond what we see on screen, so I'm dropping them into this series of videos. The Swarm are a sentient humanoid species of warp technological levels that are incredibly xenophobic to the point of defending their territory with zealous effectiveness. We do not have a species name for them, no location for their homeworld, or the ability to even fully translate their language, but they are located in the Delta Quadrant, just beyond the fringes of Kazon space, but on the north side of the Necrit Expanse. Beyond this expanse lie the Borg, among other dangerous powers, so the Swarm dwell on the less technologically advanced side of this natural barrier. In fact, they are one of the only species that has a strong understanding of shield frequencies and transporter technology. This means that their nearby competitive powers are not as dangerous as they are, leading to them to be able to lay claim to large areas of space, hundreds of sectors, seemingly at random. A partial map of their territory is shown, and it does not conform to your typical borders. This is probably a result of their lack of communication with outsiders and a speculative map based on encounters with the Swarm. Speaking of encounters, they have universally been hostile, with many incidents of ships passing into their territory often by accident because they do not advertise their borders. When a vessel passes into their territory, it's common for the ship never to be heard from again, or emerge with the entire crew dead on board. The only sign that you are entering their space is a hidden tachyon detection grid. Tachyons are faster than light particles produced from cloaking devices, transporter beams, and other technologies. This means that even a cloaked ship sneaking across or someone attempting to beam over their border can be detected. Once inside their space, things get complicated further due to an ambient resonance particle wave spatial phenomenon. Yes, an effect which acts to drag on warp drives, slowing ships passing through their space. For a species that want no visitors, they sure do make it difficult to tell exactly where their borders are. The Swarm ships will descend onto any intruding vessel and engage in one of two tactics depending on the scale of their quarry. For smaller ships, they will simply board the vessel and attempt to kill the crew before leaving the vessel drifting, which is interesting as they do not attempt to loot or lay claim to any salvage. They only care for neutralizing interlopers. On larger target ships, their small swarm vessels can land on the enemy and begin to drain the power from it. These small vessels cannot hold large numbers of crew, but travel in swarms of thousands, hence the moniker for the species. They can deploy a polaron burst to radiate and mark a vessel as a target, kind of scent marking it for their swarm to locate, and fire an interferometric pulse. This pulse is modulated specifically to their target and allows them to bypass the shielding and even neutralize the target's energy weapons by dispersing it among the swarm. This pulse is also connected to any other nearby swarm ships to share the pattern and power among them. This is also their weakness, as if this pattern is overloaded, it can chain through the network and affect the rest of the swarm. More ships will then dock, continuing the drain effect, eventually allowing for boarding parties to once again kill off the crew. With the ship drained of power and drifting, often a single swarm ship will remain to ensure that the intruder eventually perishes, or in case there are more nearby that somehow slipped their detection grid. The Swarm themselves are only glimpsed twice in person, and they have a complicated language that the Universal Translator had a lot of trouble with. A Starfleet translator eavesdrops on unsecured subspace channels to build a lexicon of language passively, even before first contact is made. With the Swarm being so isolated, it is likely that the translator had nothing to assimilate prior to their meetings, as with time the crew were able to create some basic translations. Their appearance is rather difficult to discern too, but they almost appear reptilian-ish, and they have 3 digits on each hand and 2 talon-like toes, a tube appendage from their mouth to their neck. They wore armour, but with no helmets, and the gear was dark and rather undescriptive. It did, however, have upturned designs, giving it a more menacing silhouette, but overall had a utilitarian look, reflecting that the swarm are all business. The hand weapons are of a strange design too, inverted from most common armaments, more like a baton than a disruptor, and they do release a powerful pulse of neuroelectric energy that can stun a target. However, it also really messes with the brain, memory and nervous systems of the victim, which can be fatal without treatment. Overall, their reputation is valid. They seldom leave survivors, but occasional getaways must exist in order to tell the stories alongside the remains of drifting vessels. The fact that they do not even pillage their targets adds more to their menace. They only care about destroying intruders and defending their space, like wasps around their hive. They are one of the more technologically advanced species in the area too, making them a real threat, but fortunately they do not travel beyond their territory, as mottled as it is. They are sentient and do have a language, so perhaps with time and effort some workaround could be established, as it seems most of their issues could be avoided if they just communicated a bit more. Thanks for watching. I've been Rick, and that is about all we have on the swarm aliens of the Delta Quadrant. Thanks again, and goodbye.